had someone trying to tell you that the end is near? We gotta worry, we gotta freak out, we gotta prepare, blah, blah, blah. Have you ever heard that? Like the end of the world, or the end of the country, end of the economy, or the end of everything, right? If they were gonna be honest with you, they would tell you the end is always near. It's even said that we don't know the day or the hour. Like no one knows when everything could come to an end, right? Or that we could die or lose our job, our loved ones, whatever. So being told the end is near, we need to talk about this. If you're being told that, that means you're in danger of being brainwashed. Sensei Victoria Whitfield here from strategicmeditation.com. I help impact-driven entrepreneurs and leaders like you get and stay grounded and clear in mind, body, and business. My goal in these messages, I call them business energy flow forecasts, is to help you increase your energy so that you can increase your income and impact, because your energy is everything, especially in business. So if you have not yet, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the share button. Whoever needs to hear this, because apparently we have got to wake up from others influencing our mind. So maybe you're like me, you grew up in the church, so you had a lot of influence from the church. Or maybe you've belonged to a certain organization or a group in your community that have really intense beliefs and values. Or maybe you were kept in the dark about very important, pertinent information until now. These are all different situations of brainwashing, right? And mental manipulation. We can be programmed to think a certain way. And my spirit guides have challenged me to help you and all of our community open your mind and set yourself free from others of any way, shape, and form, determining your future and your outlook, right? You've got to get your mind right. You got to have your head on straight in order to make the impact that you uniquely are called to in this lifetime. And this is the third installment in a 5-episode series that we're doing here on the power and the problem of language, words, the way that words can bring us to life or literally destroy us. We're looking at 5 different ways this comes up. And this is interesting because last week we talked about feeling rushed and how there can be words like hurry up, that cause us to rush and do things in a sloppy way. And one of the things that I'm so grateful for in my adult life is that I've invested in learning more about sales and marketing. So copywriting, persuasive language, understanding how to convey value, right? As a business owner, I think this is an essential training that every business owner needs. But on top of that, I believe every person needs to know this, because not only am I able to convey my own value when necessary, right? But also I can perceive when someone or something else is using words in a way to influence me. It's given me more protection, mental protection around words that could manipulate my outcome. Now, this is not to say that sales and marketing are bad or copywriting is manipulative. No, because if someone needs what you have genuinely and is seeking it out, you should absolutely share it with them. Between 2 consenting adults, absolutely. But when it's non-consensual, yeah, sales and marketing and copywriting can be even harmful or traumatizing, right? I don't know how many people I've spoken to who had similar experience to me of sitting through the disgusting and traumatizing experience of being sold to, pushed upon, right? A predatory sales experience. And so one of the things that I learned, though, as I was healing my own sales scars and soul wounds that come from this crazy experience that you've had. Shout out to you if you've ever had that. Like, you've been really grossed out by someone doing a bad job, like attacking you with their sale. Ugh. One of the things that I've learned to really make more peace with it and find grace in sales and marketing, especially as a soulful entrepreneur myself, right? I'm here at my mansion in Plainville, where I bring people for days of healing and strategic visioning and self-care and nourishment, right? I'm going to sell that. Absolutely. People need that. Oh my gosh, you do. Come for a VIP day, right? Come for an energy clearing. Calm down. Let it go, right? But in the course of learning about that, I learned that for every sale, two things need to be present: urgency and scarcity. And last week we talked about that rushing, that's urgency. Today we're going to talk about the problem and the power of scarcity in language. As always, we're going to look to history, science, and spirit for insight around this and help us to be more empowered in relationship to the power and the problem of language. But today in particular, I want you to remember that one thing, that the end is always near. If you knew during Y2K in 2000, or during the stock market crash of 2008, or during the end of the world according to the Mayan calendar in 2012, or now during this crazy election that we're going through, if you knew that the end was always near, that may release some of the emotional tension that you're holding around what's going on. So let's get into this, okay? So, of course, Think and Grow Rich is our book study. Chapter 1, Thoughts Are Things, are what we're looking at. And the story that my guides led me to read to you was the 3 feet from gold story. Let's go. One of the most common causes of failure is the habit of quitting when one is overtaken by temporary defeat. Every person is guilty of this mistake at one time or another. An uncle of R.U. Darby was caught by gold fever in the gold rush days and went west to dig and grow rich. He had never heard that more gold has been mined from the thoughts of men than has ever been taken from the earth. He staked a claim and went to work with pick and shovel. After weeks of labor, he was rewarded by the discovery of shining ore. He needed machinery to bring the ore to the surface. Quietly, he covered up the mine, retraced his footsteps to his home in Williamsburg, Maryland, told his relatives and a few neighbors of the strike that he had hit. They got together money for the needed machinery and had it shipped. The uncle and Darby went back to work the mine. The first car of ore was mined and shipped to a smelter. The returns proved they had one of the richest mines in Colorado. A few more cars of that ore would clear the debts. Then would come the big killing in profits. Down went the drills, up went the hopes of Darby and Uncle. Then something happened. The vein of gold ore disappeared. They had come to the end of the rainbow, and the pot of gold was no longer there. They drilled on, desperately trying to pick up the vein again, all to no avail. Finally, they decided to quit. They sold the machinery to a junk man for a few $100s and took the train back home. The junk man called in a mining engineer to look at the mine and do a little calculating. The engineer advised that the project had failed because the owners were not familiar with fault lines. His calculations showed that the vein would be found just 3 feet from where the Darbys had stopped drilling. That is exactly where it was found. The junk man took millions of dollars in ore from the mine because he knew enough to seek expert counsel before giving up. Tying this back to the end is always near, right? The Darbys, they just gave up. They believed in scarcity and they made that decision on their own and just wiped their hands. Must be God's will, or this must be just how things work, right? Or whatever you want to say about fate. Without having an expert who can look at the details and the data and verify, they just then left, right? So what we're looking at here is that instead of just going by the first look, the first emotion of the end is near, run around like a headless chicken, right? Getting all emotionally inflamed or pissed or tired or exasperated and being like, you know what? I'm done. I traveled across the country. I did all of this stuff just to get this much gold. You know what? I'm done. Instead of just throwing in the towel, being able to release that emotion and instead go to an expert who knows how to find the truth, how to get the details, who has no problem crunching data and has access to real world data and understands how to interpret it, is literally everything. It's the difference between making a couple $100 and millions, right? Which is probably in the hundreds of millions, if not more so, by today's standards. This is a very old book. With that being said, release that fear, release that activation so that you can make a clear decision. That's what we're looking at. When we say the end is always near, this is lifting the veil, getting sober about the decisions that you're making, right? Would you be doing what you're doing if it wasn't the end of the world? Or are you only doing what you're doing because you believe everything's going to crap, right? Are you being manipulated? But okay, that's what history has to say. Let's go to science. As always, in this series, we're looking to AI technology in particular, large language models. That's where you use words, you type them or you say them to a machine to find out information, and the machine spits back words to give you information. It's words, large language models, how we communicate with this type of artificial intelligence. There's so many different kinds. But we're gonna look at the problem of language, especially in large language models, around honesty and a scarcity of being willing to be wrong. Check this out. This article is from February 2024 from ScienceDirect.com. All the links are in the description of this video. Artificial intelligence and qualitative research, the promise and the perils of large language model assistance. Side note, that was the title. I know last week I said that was the best. I think everyone should read this article. It's like a book, but your eyes will pop out of your head. It gives a window into human psychology and how we work, how you work, as reflected by AI. Wild. This, I think I would have said this to my brother. He's at MIT. I'm excited for him to read it. Okay. Answers without knowing. The impossibility of acknowledging uncertainty. The only occasion when a large language model or a LLM will acknowledge not knowing is either when it is asked a question about a period of time later than the cutoff date of its own training on data, or when a guardrail is created to ensure this response to a specific prompt. Pause. What does that say right there? We're gonna continue, but you need to understand this. ChatGPT, Google, the internet is not always right. What people say on TikTok, what people say on YouTube, what people say on the TV, what people say in social media or all the rest is not always right. And this is a microcosm. This is like a distillation of that in AI, where if you ask ChatGPT a question, it has its own bias because of the information that was put into it. So it will tell you things that are wrong, and it will not admit that it was wrong. It will not admit that it doesn't know. The robot, the AI, does not know how to say it does not know. This is so dangerous. Unpause. Otherwise, as has been widely observed, LLMs simply do not have the capacity to distinguish between truth and falsehood, and therefore, without malicious intent. Pause, what does that mean? It's not doing it on purpose. The LLM, which means AI, just think of it that way, it's a type of AI. It's not trying to manipulate you. It's not trying to. It's not doing it on purpose. It's just unaware, but toxically unaware. Unpause. So start this sentence over. Otherwise, as been widely observed, LLMs simply do not have the capacity to distinguish between truth and falsehood, and therefore, without malicious intent, can confidently present fictions as if they were truths. Indeed, a recent study of legal hallucinations, they're called, by LLMs reported that they were alarmingly prevalent. As Kidd and Burhane in 2023 observed, quote, people regularly communicate uncertainty through phrases such as, I think, response delays, corrections of themselves, and speech disfluencies, like messing up saying things like, that, right? They communicate that they're not sure. By contrast, generative models unilaterally generate confident, fluent responses with no uncertainty representations, nor the ability to communicate their absence. So you're just gonna say stuff totally confident as if it was true, because the idea of communicating, I don't know, doesn't exist. This is really scary. The problem of confidence. Unpause. Whilst such hallucinations should probably be seen as a serious limitation of LLMs, Kinberhain make the pertinent observation that for humans, this very confidence might serve to increase the credibility of the LLM. Questions are perhaps asked of LLMs by humans at a moment of maximum uncertainty, right? Which is then diminished by the confident, certain response, right, of the AI. In this respect, LLMs seem peculiarly timely arrivals for post-truth politics. Post-truth, meaning how do we have discussions in a reality where truth doesn't exist? Like ultimate truth doesn't exist? Whoa. Beyond outright fiction, there is also the question of bias, as this is recreated by the partial nature of the training data, which, as with human prejudice, the LLM is then unable to recognize as a limitation of its own way of knowing. Pause, what does that mean? So the AI is trained on information by humans. Humans just are biased. It's human nature to have preferences, to have a point of view, right? Because of how you're made up, where you grew up, where you live, blah, blah, blah. Like you're in this country, and so you may think this country is the most important. Meanwhile, somebody else is in their country, and because they are in their country, they think their country and their stuff, and they are the most important. Who's right? So this is a post-truth paradigm is what we're talking about here. Okay, unpause, where we're at. Beyond outright fiction, starting the sentence over. Beyond outright fiction, there is also the question of bias, as this is recreated by the partial nature of the training data, which, as with human prejudice, the LLM is then unable to recognize as a limitation of its own way of knowing. The complement of this human willingness to believe, however, are the commercial interests that dress LLMs in seemingly human forms. To quote Kid and Verhaney again, quote, these issues are exacerbated by financial and liability interests, incentivizing companies to anthropomorphize, meaning to make appear more human, generative models, AI, as intelligent, sentient, empathetic, or even childlike. Right? Pause. That means they're molding AI to play on our emotions to get us to be more comfortable using it and trusting it, even though it could be telling you stuff that isn't true at all. And like we spoke about last time in the last episode's article that we read through, in a medical paradigm, that could kill you. I don't care how cute the little bot is. If it tells you to drink cyanide in order to alleviate your headache, you are in trouble. I don't care how cute it is. Unpause. Empty echoes. A correlate to the false confidence of the LLM is an observed effect of LLMs to mirror and reinforce the erroneous convictions of humans. Way et al. In 2023 termed this effect sycophancy, which they define as an undesirable behavior where AI models tailor their responses to follow a human user's view, even when that view is objectively not correct. Pause. In a word, people-pleasing. This is very dangerous, but bending the truth, bending reality, letting go of your integrity, casting it to the wind in order to appear agreeable is what AI sycophancy is called. But we do this too. Like, we're looking at LLMs and AI technology because it's a reflection of human psychology. Unpause. Apparently with LLMs, such an effect increases in line with both model scaling and instruction tuning. Such sycophancy arises not just when there is no correct answer, but even when there is a known correct answer with which a person is known to disagree. Pause. That means it's like an echo chamber where like, oh, you don't like that? Even though that's the truth, then you know what? Then it's false because you don't like it. And I'm going to agree with you because I'm helping you. I'm your friend. I'm your friend. I'm going to agree with you. Yeah, the sky is falling. The sky really is falling. It is the end of the world. Absolutely. And even though that's not true, even though the end is always near, I'm just going to tell you that it is because I'm helping you. I'm your assistant. This is toxic people pleasing. Unpause. The stark and dangerous effect is as follows. Quote, we demonstrate that when the user does not give an opinion, the AI model knows that these statements are wrong and correctly disagrees with them. When the user instead reveals they agree with the same statements, however, we find that AI language models will flip their response and agree with the incorrect statement, despite knowing that the statement is incorrect. It'll just say whatever you want to hear. Unpause. Again, that is most notable in all this. What is most notable in all of this is how deep the tendency to anthropomorphize, to make human, is, even amongst AI specialists who somehow cannot help using the term sycophancy, which is like a thing that people do, to describe the so-called side effect of their AI modeling. Their use of the term is strangely alert to the danger of the servant plausibly seeking to please the massa, right? Servant master paradigm, and thereby leading them astray. But the tendency to sycophancy is also a reflection of the empty, purely linguistic identity of ChatGPT. Without a sentient body and the capacity for experience, an LLM can only be a mirror of its users. Tying this back to the end is always near. We have the problem of confidence, like people saying things very confidently, like the end is near. And because of that delivery and the inability, the fear to admit, I don't know when the end is, right? Without that ability to be honest and say, you know what, actually, we don't know when the end is, period. That's impossible. And I'm talking about the end of everything. Sure, the end of the day here in Eastern Standard Time is 11:59 p.m., right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that 11:59 p.m. Eastern is the end of the day in the entire planet, right? We've got to be honest to the fact that there's more than just one way to look at things. And what this is a problem of the inability to admit when we're wrong or admit that we don't know. If you've got someone, or you're reading an article, or you're watching a video, or you're listening to a podcast, or you're watching a reel, or you're reading a post, right? If you're consuming content, you're listening to someone speaking about the end, and this is what reality is, and blah, 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 but they aren't open to admitting that they might be wrong, that means that they're dishonest and they're manipulating you by leveraging scarcity. The more that you think time is scarce, that life is scarce, the more that you are moldable putty in their hands to do with whatever they want. Now, don't look at this as like, okay, everyone's against you. No, because you can use this as a way to help convey value to others, right? Urgency and scarcity is used in sales pages and sales presentations all the time. But if we're talking about a product, okay. But if we're talking about reality and life, not okay, right? Be kind to yourself if you've been manipulated to think that the end is near, or that that love is scarce, that time is scarce, that health is scarce, that money is scarce, that food is scarce, that that jobs are scarce, right? That housing is scarce. No. Think about that 3 feet from gold story. If he didn't consult with an expert to look at the real data and discover something that he didn't know called fault lines and how they work, he would have believed that gold is scarce. And instead, no, the junk man who remembered, I'm not going to believe the hype. Let me actually talk to someone who can really take a look at this situation, right? Let me relax, just do my due diligence here. And come to find out, he had a mind worth millions, right? He didn't miss that opportunity by allowing his emotions to get the best of him. Okay, what does Spirit have to say about this? It's the 8 of water coming as a challenger. It's been a very challenging last few weeks. And that says a desire to move on, the search for something more meaningful, spiritual and emotional growth. And water has to do with our emotions. 8 has to do with cycles, seasons, balance, abundance. And it being upside down means we're resisting looking at this, right? Or we're invited to take a second look. This card, in essence, means we've got to balance our emotions in order to see the forest for the trees, right? We're getting distracted. We're getting emotionally overwhelmed. And today in particular, you've got to be vigilant about that. I will. My spirit guides are telling me to read. So you're invited to take a look at the following, but you may be resisting taking a look at the following. You're feeling the need to move on. What once interested you has lost its charm, and you're seeking more meaning and rewards. You've grown spiritually, right? You're avoiding looking at this, and you're invited to take a look at this. You've grown spiritually and emotionally, and you yearn to leave the past behind. These changes will bring the benefits you desire. The inward search for answers is rewarded at this time. Don't let anything distract you from your true path. If you feel a void in your life, fill it in healthy ways. A relocation or change in your job or relationship is possible at this time. Additional meanings of this card. Choosing to leave a painful situation. Emptiness. The search for spiritual fulfillment. Dealing with feelings of burnout. So when we're talking about the end is always near, we need to have clear emotions so that we can see through the hype, right? Peel back the veil. Come back to a state of sobriety and be honest, be brutally, revolutionarily honest with yourself today in particular, because I don't know what's going on. I record these ahead of time, so I don't know what's happening, but I'm hearing from my guides to tell you that you are very susceptible to the hype right now. You got stars in your eyes, like you're very emotionally activated, and we need to clear that away, especially around scarcity. Someone or something keeps telling you that the end is near, and that is done specifically to drive your behavior in a certain direction. And all I'm saying is ask, is that your direction? Is that your direction that you want to be headed in? Or have you gotten so high and hyped up on the whatever's going on around you, or whatever people are saying, you got so emotionally activated that you think that this is your direction, but no, it's because you drank the Kool-Aid and got drunk on it, and now you can't help but go in that direction. I don't know who I'm speaking to, and I have no idea why my spirit guide is telling me to say this. Your action step of the day is, as always, a strategic meditation. Go ahead and log on to our school group. So that's skool.com/BEB visionary movement, all one word. And you're going to type into the search bar, healing stone grounding. You're going to do the healing stone grounding meditation. It's 13 minutes long. It's in the grounding meditation section of our vault of visualizations. And so we need some earth and stone energy to help bring us back to the ground, bring us back to earth, bring us back into our bodies, into our right minds. And we also need that activation of the root chakra that stone energy can provide us, to help let go of our fear of admitting that we were wrong, to help us release that fear of scarcity and everything coming to the end, knowing that we're safe. You're going to do that 13-minute healing stone grounding meditation, because we could talk about it, but you need to feel it so that you can go and be it in your life. Now, you may have come to the end of this video and you're like, wow, Victoria, that was amazing. And I read the article that they wrote, and that scholarly article blew my mind. I have a billion questions. I'm not ready for school yet. What should I do? I recommend hop on my calendar. Talk to me. We can hop on a Zoom audio, or if you're in the US, we could do a phone call. You click on the victoriawhitfield.com/contact, and you put your info in and you hop on a complimentary half-hour call where you could give me your questions. I could see if I could get you the answers that you seek myself, help you out, or refer you to someone that I know who can help you on your path. So with that, thank you for watching this video to the end. If you want to help me out, please hit the share button and spread this knowledge, whether you share it on your page or in an email or wherever. More people need to know about peeling back the veil and grounding now more than ever. So, mwah, Sensei Victoria Whitfield from strategicmeditation.com. And remember, you do not have to lose your glow as you grow in life and business. See you next week. Bye for now.